All right, I'm joined by another one of our Laredo College faculty members, Mr. David Cabrera. Mr. Cabrera, how are you?
How you doing, sir?
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
meeting you.
Tell me a little bit about yourself first.
Well, I'm originally from Venezuela.
Okay.
I came to the United States in 2001 and lived in Louisiana for about 10 years. And then I decided to come to South Texas, year 2011.
Okay.
I've been here at that time, LCC, Laredo Community College. And ever since 2011, I've been here in the college.
I'm interested, how did you manage to, why from Venezuela to Louisiana?
Yeah, that's a good question. That happened because my father was an alumnus at the University of Louisiana in Lafayette. And as a result, the children of that alumnus received a discount to go to school there. And we received a letter from the University of Venezuela that I was eligible to go and be in that school. And that's how I ended up in Louisiana.
What can you remember about Venezuela? How old were you when you left Venezuela? Can you tell us about Venezuela?
Yeah, I remember a good deal of things. I left in 2001, right? At that time, I was about to be 20 years of age.
Okay, so you'd already been
So
there a
yes,
while.
I grew up there, and my fondest memories are from that time. So I remember, for the most part, childhood, pre-adolescence, teenage years, early adulthood time. So I have a lot of memories.
Do you get to go back? I mean, is it possible to go back?
Yes, I actually came around the time when when there were political changes there, like when the Chavez government was starting. It coincided with my time coming to the United States. And as far as going back and forth, I've been there about 4 or 5 times that I traveled. Yes, I traveled in the 2000s, and the last time I went, it was 2013. So it's been 12 years. I haven't. It's been a while.
Venezuela to Louisiana is a big jump. Louisiana to Texas, not so big, but still different. Louisiana and Texas, completely different.
Yes,
How'd you end up in
absolutely.
Laredo?
Absolutely, it's a big change too. When I was in Louisiana, the culture and the way things work out there are a little different than here. There's not much that Mexican American or Hispanic community as you see here. Not that there's not that many people from with Hispanic origin, and it was quite interesting. I was in the South Louisiana, which is predominantly has that French culture, that Cajun and Creole culture, and I acclimated myself the best way I could in that environment. But I have to say that coming to Laredo, it really was a big change to a city that's 96% Hispanic to an environment that's totally different.
Were you seeking to come to Laredo specifically, or you just happened to apply for the job, or how did it work out?
I was purposely looking to go to Texas.
Okay.
So I was looking...
Not necessarily Laredo,
Not
but
necessarily
Texas.
Laredo, but I was going west. In other words, when I was in Louisiana, I was applying to go west. That included, and within my possibilities, that included Texas and even New Mexico.
Okay.
When I first applied, I was attracted to that area for a lot of cultural reasons and for also academic reasons. I was attracted to this area over here, and I ended up here. I didn't know that this was the place that I was going to end up doing it. This was not intentional. Like my first intention was to come here.
But the only place you've been in Texas, and as far as lived and worked in, is Laredo.
Living and work, yes.
Yeah.
I've been all over Texas, but living and working in Laredo.
Now, you've been here at Laredo College since 2011, you said, right?
It's in 2011.
Well, what are your thoughts on the college? What do you think about Laredo College?
Well, there's been a lot of changes, significant changes. When I came in 2011, I don't think this building was yet ready. The building that we're here right now, they're having this major expansion on campus.
Which is the LEAC, by the way.
This is the LEAC. This is the
Lewis Energy.
the Lewis Energy Group
Yes.
Center. We used to be at the Lerma Peña, and the Lerma Peña itself was not near what it looks like right now. So it was a smaller. We have to carry the little carts with the projectors, the screen projectors from this, from this room.
Which don't exist anymore,
Yeah,
by the
they
way.
don't exist.
Yeah.
Right. So roll it over into the classrooms and make the connections. So that was the experience then. And then I was located, or we as the department were located at the old Arechiga Hall, which is a 19th century building.
It's now being renovated.
It's being renovated, and we have the athletics too during that time period. I remember we had a lot of students from even international students,
Sure.
or tennis players, baseball players that attended my classes. But so there's been a lot of changes, a lot of different presidents too ever since, and administration has changed.
And you're still here.
I'm still here.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Why history? When did you become interested in teaching history?
Well, that's also a long story. I originally, my plans, my early plans, I've always been inclined to music. Music was my my passion, and I wanted to do. I didn't want to do a 4-year career, but I told my parents that I wanted to be a sound engineering. So I wanted to deal with music, editing, and that kind of stuff.
Like behind the scenes, maybe.
Yeah, kind of like,
Like on the mixing board.
on the
maybe at
mixing
production
boards,
studio.
on the recording, that
Okay.
kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right? And my dad said, "Well, that's 2 years that you have to go full, for full time 4-year college. Why don't you go and do an engineering?" So he actually persuaded me to do electrical engineering. And
Okay.
that's not what I wanted to do. So I went on with it anyways. I did pretty bad in my first semester. I decided, okay, this is not what I want to do. So I had already taken a vocational test in Caracas, Venezuela, where the psychologists have they concluded that my inclinations were more humanities, were more toward the social sciences, and then I remember that, and I said, well, I want to go into mass communication. I'm going to be a journalist. And so I went for journalism for about 2 years. And then I made another change. I made another pause in my studies, didn't complete that major. I have a few credits left. So I make a change again, and I realized that, I took a break from school a couple of years and come back, and I just decided, okay, so I have completed a lot of hours in history. I like history. I always like to research. I've always been inclined to be in that environment. Yeah. I'm very inquisitive, and so that then led me to finally get the bachelor's in history. And then from there, what am I going to do with just a bachelor in history?
Yeah.
I probably won't do much, so I got to go and get my master's. So that's how I
That's
ended
interesting,
up there.
though. You pivoted along the way, and you found something that you've dedicated a good portion of your life to now. So
absolutely.
that's amazing. A student gets their schedule. They see David Cabrera history. Right. What do you tell them? What do you want to tell that student?
I tell them that that I am not going to complicate their lives. First of all, I don't want to complicate anybody's lives. But I actually tell them that, look, I understand, or one of the things that I understand is that most students are not history majors. They have to take a history class or a political science class, of government, or English, because that's part of the core curriculum. So it's one of the things that we should have under our belts, and something that we should have with us going into a professional career, right? It's going to teach us a lot of good things, good studying habits, good skills. So I emphasize on that. Look, we're going to look at history, but I want to also develop some skills that are going to be useful for you, right? Like reading comprehension, critical thinking, and the way to communicate your ideas. And so our work is going to be based on that. So I hope that what you get from me is going to be useful for you. Yeah. So that's what I would tell them. Have you taught at another level, or it's always been college? It's always been college. I've taught. My teaching experience also includes Spanish.
Okay.
As for beginners. I taught Spanish for beginners to the veteran Upward Bound program in the University of Louisiana for a few months. It wasn't long. I've also had taught in other contexts, but history teaching has always been, for me, has always been college level.
What do you like about teaching?
I like the fact that I can engage the students in a two-way communication. One of the things I've learned through teaching is that I don't want to just be the only person speaking in the classroom. I like to see what they're thinking. Yeah. I like to see their feedback. I like to get to know how much they can engage, and I like to share also knowledge and ideas and open up conversations so where they can be critical about things. That's I like to think.
Do you see that engagement on day one, or does it take some time to get the students to sort of build up to
that? It depends on the groups.
Really?
Yes, the groups are, each group is different. Every audience is different. And so as a teacher, one of the things that you do is just adapt to those audiences. Sometimes as a teacher, as an instructor, as a professor, you already have a certain pattern that you want to go with. But at the same time, some patterns are not good enough for some audiences. I know, no matter how much you try. And it's challenging sometimes to meet those needs, because then you have to start adapting to what their expectations are. I have students, good example, last semester, I had a class who was unbelievable. All students, there were like close to 20 people. All students were engaging. They were really interested in they brought ideas to class. They were looking forward to have class. There was another class who was a little bit, there was a certain distance. Students wanted to just wait to leave, so it's I know, and I understand those, there's different needs in different audiences.
That's interesting. And do you have to make adjustments when that happens?
Yes, you have to make adjustments, and also that means on the things that you talk about, being selective about what you're going to talk about, for how long are you going to do it, what things you're going to say or do that's going to call their attention. When I see that there's a little bit of distance, what I try to do is try to personalize the teaching and try to bring examples and maybe touches on their daily life, right? If we're talking something that's relevant to their everyday life, I see a little bit of a interest spiking up.
Is most of the class time lecture or discussion, or what is it?
It's a combination.
It's a combination.
Sometimes it depends. And I like to lecture, but I also like group engagement. So we do a lot of class activity.
How long is too long for a lecture now? Because you can start seeing once you've lost them, right? I mean, you can tell.
Yes, you can tell. But I think that, in fact, if you're lecturing 30 minutes, that in today's attention spans, I think that's very long.
It's a lot.
So you have to make your pauses and get him to engage, and then
unless it's captivating, unless it's something you as a teacher can read the audience just as anybody who does public speaking, and you'll know I'm good here. They're enjoying this. They're engaged, and so you can continue. Or if they're not, then you can sort of truncate that.
Absolutely.
I want you to think of the student in 2011 versus the student today.
Okay.
2025. What's the difference?
Wow, that's a good question. In general, I think that the difference, there are many differences, but I want to start with one that probably everybody talks about today, and the difference in technology.
Yeah.
Because in 2011, yes, we had research tools, we have things like that would help the students in their work, references. But now in the age of AI, it's very challenging to sort of provide a line of what's ethical and what's not. And so that's one of the, I can see that's one difference with it.
Because in 2011, they didn't have the answers at their fingertips.
Right, they didn't have the answers.
At least not as quickly as today. I don't even remember what was going on in 2011, to be honest with you. But I guarantee you it wasn't like today where, as you're lecturing, they can be looking up literally everything or talking to ChatGPT or whatever AI tool there is out there. So it's definitely different in that regard.
Yeah, it's there's a difference. I think we are getting, especially here in Laredo, we get a lot of cross-cultural students from Nuevo Laredo. Sometimes we got a good population of students that live across, and they also bring an interesting background to the school because I have students, local students, that went to local schools. So I'm more or less familiar with those local high schools and what they go through those high schools. But it's interesting also to see that all the background from all the other students that are across. So that's good.
I think I've asked each faculty member that I've spoken to, if you would not have become a teacher, what would you have done instead?
Well, as I said, I would have liked to pursue my music
career.
There
you said that already.
From the beginning, and I would have liked to do that. But
do you still dabble in music at all? Do you play an instrument?
I do play guitar a little bit. Again, for my own amusements, for my own entertainment. But I would have liked to have done that. I would have liked to maybe pursue my journalistic career more. There were other interests too.
But those opportunities are still there.
Yeah, sure. I'm actually currently I'm currently doing a master's in Spanish language, so I'm also interested in that.
And journalistically, I mean, anybody can be a journalist today with the technology that we talked about.
And the tools,
I mean, so those dreams should not die. Mr. Cabrera, I mean, if you ever decide to wrap up your teaching career, you can move on to one of those.
Do you have a plan B and C, right?
Just a fun question. Do you have? Well, I was going to ask you what's your favorite movie, but what's your favorite artist? What kind of music do you like?
Wow, that's all. I'm a music
all over the place.
I'm a music aficionado. I
you
like
get
all
into the
kinds
car,
of music.
you put on a Spotify playlist. What is it? What's the first song? Who's the first?
It depends
artist?
on the mood. It depends on the mood and depends on the time of the day. But I usually would play the stuff that brings me back to places, to times. I can play from jazz music, blues music. I like the kind of electronic that they were doing in the Millennium Electronics that were doing back in the 90s. I like that stuff.
But like you said, it depends on the mood you're in.
It depends on the mood and the time of the day.
And since I had already thrown it out there, do you have a favorite movie?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, what categories?
Oh, you have to go what category?
I think that, wow, that's a
or a franchise,
that's a really unfair question, but I'm gonna try to answer it. I think that the movie that I really would put on the top of right now, on top of my head right now, would be The Bronx Tale.
Never seen it.
The Bronx Tale is a Robert De Niro movie with Chats Palminteri. Talks about their upbringing in the Bronx and family life in the Bronx. Dealing with gangsters in the neighborhood and all kinds of Italian Americans.
So you had an answer there. I just had to kind of
pull it out. That's why I come to my mind right now.
Mr. Cabrera, thank you very much for your time.
Right,
I appreciate it. Thanks for what you do.